The intellectual movement, known as the Sophists, would fundamentally challenge Greek traditional morality. One way they did so was to raise the question of what about our culture and its moral standards is simply conventional and what is natural. And it's a provocative question in any age. The most important of the Sophists, indeed the towering figure of the Sophists, was a teacher named Protagoras. Protagoras came to Athens, and indeed he's associated with the milieu of the greatest of all the Athenian democratic leaders, Pericles. And it's telling that in some sense Protagoras is part of the intellectual atmosphere of the Athenian democracy in its greatest age, and in its age of greatest democracy, its most radically democratic moments. Protagoras is well known to history, but it's unfortunate that almost all of his writings and sayings are lost. Indeed, our most extensive portrait of Protagoras is preserved in a dialogue written by Plato, the student of Socrates, who's our most important Athenian source for the teachings of Socrates. Now, Plato in his dialogues often portrays Socrates intellectually sparring with Athenian leaders and sometimes with famous Athenian sophists. And usually this is the equivalent of Socrates treating the sophists as a punching bag. But it's a measure of even Plato's respect for Protagoras that in the dialogue, the conversation between Protagoras and Socrates, that Protagoras comes off as quite impressive, as intellectually respectable. He was the greatest of the sophist philosophers. And we have two quotations from Protagoras that are extremely revealing, that tell us something about what his thought must have been like. One of these quotations says, "About the gods, I can know nothing, because of the obscurity of the subject and the brevity of human life." It's a powerful statement. Protagoras says, I can know nothing about the gods. Into a highly traditional world of Greek polytheism, Protagoras, and presumably other sophists, come denying the possibility of religious knowledge. And religious skepticism is one of the foundations of the sophistic challenge. The other famous quote of Protagoras that preserves for us some of his own words is an even more well-known quotation. He says, "Man is the measure of all things." It's a profound statement. Think of it, what it means. Man is the measure of all things. It's a claim that seems in some sense relativist, that we can have access to no transcendent orders, no knowledge of the way things are beyond our own perceptions of them, and we can have no measure of what is good that doesn't start and end with man, with humans, as the measure of all things. And so we see in the ideas of Protagoras, even in these very insufficient fragments of what he once taught, that the sophist challenge is fundamentally a challenge to knowledge, especially traditional religious knowledge, that says we can't know about the gods, that we don't have the grounds to justify our belief about the gods. And question traditional morality, question the idea that there could be a transcendent, objective, natural morality, saying instead that humans, that man alone, is the measure of morality. These are profoundly unsettling claims in a traditional society, and they would unsettle, they would be so provocative that they would evoke the philosophies of Plato and Aristotle in consequence as an effort to try and find justifications for morality, to try and find a foundation for justice.